We're just board.
Okay, I'm gonna call the meeting to order. Could everybody state their name for roll call?
Carla Pennington Cross.
Okay, Andrew Franklin.
Done one.
And Danielle Bailey are here. So we're just here to talk about the board candidate appointment process, which Allison has laid out a recommendation. Do you just want to go over that and then?
All right, so let me pull that up. Well, first circling back to the last board meeting, do you want me to talk about a few of the things you guys asked me to check into? Or no?
I think, is it part of your, does it come into your recommendation? Then maybe just
Yeah,
give
so I'll
the
leave it.
recommendation and then we can see if there's a motion and then we can discuss. Is that,
Okay.
right?
Thanks for reining me back in. Yes. Okay. So, so basically what I've mapped out is that each candidate would interview with the board one at a time. So at that point, candidates would not be in the room at the same time for the interviews. But then once we get to the vote, they can come back into the room. The board would have written ballots that they sign. And so for round one, you would sign your name to a ballot and then rank the candidates 1 through 10. Those rankings would be used to determine which candidates are going to move to round 2. Then you would repeat the process. So each candidate would again interview without the other candidates in the room for round 2. For each round, the board would ask one question. The only additional piece is that for round 1, each candidate would give a statement of why they want to be on the board. Some of the other pieces of my recommendation, and we talked about this a little bit, would be to have time limits so that the statement could be 2 minutes and perhaps each answer to questions could be 2 minutes. Karen's willing to help and have an actual timer so that we could just tell people, if you hear the timer, go off, please wrap up like the last part of what you're talking about, just to keep everybody moving. Lindsay said she could also attend so that she could help with transitions. So as one board candidate is finishing up, she could go, we thought they would be maybe in the main office, so they can't hear each other. So she would go get the next candidate and bring them in so that we could keep it moving and keep it flowing. The way I have it mapped out now, I'm hoping we can start at 4 because we have 10 candidates. So that's going to take a while, which would put us to a regular board meeting starting at about 7 with a 15-minute break. So if we started at 4, we could do a 15-minute break and start around 7. And then I really trimmed down the board agenda and put estimated times. And it looks like we could probably finish the regular board meeting around 8:15. But that's like, I think we could actually even, depending on how we do it, move it along a little bit quicker, but I wanted to add buffers and like I rounded up for everything. The other piece that we talked about was whether or not there's discussion. My recommendation is that there isn't discussion, not just because of the time, but also because if you're each ranking your 1 through 10, like I think it's really important that it's your 1 through 10 and that it's not like based on you guys having discussions with each other or like getting people to change their minds or, you know what I mean? Like, I think it's really important that everybody has their thoughts and opinions on their 10. But that's just my opinion. Bob Butler said it's your decision if you want to have any discussion or not. It's a local decision, so there's nothing in statute or anything around that. So I think those were all the pieces. We put packets together so that, in the ballots, you do not have to announce how you ranked or who you voted for, but we have to keep the ballots because they have to be available should somebody request to see them.
Okay. Before we start discussion, is there a motion to approve Allison's recommendation for the appointment process?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Are you taking notes, Allison?
Yeah, and I'm recording too.
Okay. Oh, perfect. Right. Okay. Okay, so why don't we we'll just go through everyone's questions. I'll give you guys each a minute or two maybe to talk with Allison about your questions, concerns. So let's start with Carla. She had her hand up first, then Ben, then Andy, then me.
Okay, so it occurred to me that there is an obscure possibility that in the first round of voting, 3 of us would vote for one candidate as number 1, as the top candidate. If that were the case, that's it, right?
That would be up to you guys. My thinking,
Right, if one candidate,
yeah.
if one candidate gets 3 votes as the number one candidate, doesn't that count as a majority, or are we? It just occurred to me that then it would just be done after round 1 because a majority would
That
have
is true.
selected,
Yeah.
Okay,
right?
I think if we all, yeah, I think if
Agree to that.
happens, if we agree to it, then that's the process.
Right, because then you would have one candidate receiving the majority of votes as the top candidate, but I don't know if that's how it works when you're doing ranked choice. So that was my question. I don't know, but that's what I thought. So
My-
something to think about. And then the second
Yeah.
thought I had was, the second question I had was, and it might be, I'm just sitting in my car, so I don't know. Did you make a recommendation on how many candidates would move to the second round?
No, and it's, the reason I didn't is kind of like what you're saying right now, but I didn't think of it like, wow, we're gonna magically have that top person, which would probably kind of be great. I was thinking if I looked at everybody's like top 5, I would look for overlaps. And so I would like discuss that with you as Karen and I are looking at the ballots to say, so in the top 5, everybody has 3 the same. You know what I mean? And then I would say, okay, those 3 would then move forward. So I was gonna
Oh.
look for maybe in the top 5, everybody had 2 of the same, then you might only have 2 finalists. So I was gonna look and see how they ranked, and I was gonna look at the top 5.
Okay, so
But-
you're not, yeah, the alternative, that's somewhat qualitative, so I'm not, I don't feel super strongly, but the other way to do it, of course, is just to add up the numbers. And if number 1 is top candidate, then like the 4 or 5 candidates with the lowest number of points advances.
Yeah,
Which I think might be the most objective way to do it.
a little bit more quantitative.
Right, because then that acknowledges the weighting.
Yep, no, I
Right.
like that a lot.
So I personally think that's how I would do it. I think that's how ranked choice voting tends to work. And so then it would be a question of deciding how many candidates
Mhm.
advance to round 2, whether it's the top 3 or, yeah, I'm not.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
those are my 2 thoughts.
Okay.
As we're
Yeah,
making
I
a final
agree.
decision.
Yeah,
Okay.
I agree with the,
So I'm
And
kind
also,
of, oh, sorry.
also just thank you, Allison, for posting up these recommendations and making it easier for us to have this discussion.
it's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
People want to work with you.
Okay, so Carla, just to clarify, so your 2 questions are around if 3 of us vote for number 1, will that solidify the choice and void a need for round 2? And the other question is around refining the process for determining the number of candidates and who moves forward to the second round. So those are 2 pieces I think we have to weigh in on.
Mhm.
Can we move to, is it okay if we go on to Ben and then we can kind of revisit these maybe in order? Okay, Ben, what are your?
So I don't know. I was looking at, so Carla brought something that made me look something up really quick, and I guess I'd have to read more about it. But I guess in New York, the candidate with the majority, more than 50% of first choice votes wins outright. But at that point, the voters of New York had the entire context of the candidate. And if we're planning on doing 2 rounds, we haven't asked both our questions. So it is a little bit different. So I'm undecided on that. I just assumed that we were going to go with the 2 rounds where, maybe the top 4, meaning the 4 lowest scores, would just kind of go through. But that's an interesting point. But my only hesitation with not going with the second round and just having someone win outright is the fact that we don't have the entire context of the candidates, since we're all planning to have 2 questions. Whereas in Alaska or in New York or wherever the heck they do this, you technically have the full, well,
Right.
not full, but the rules were that, you had this many debates and whatnot. And our rules are, well, we're having 2 rounds with 2 different questions, but then we're not doing the second round of questions.
Yeah.
Right. So that's a little bit different. Okay. So then that was my other question that Carla brought up about how are we going to do it, I kind of think the golf way might work. I'm not sure, maybe I should read about that. And the last thing, oh yeah, you said no discussion, but I think for round 2, a discussion might be warranted. Maybe round 1, no, but round 2, it might be warranted. And then I just want to make sure, and I know you've probably talked to Bob Butler about this, but I just want to verify that we're sure that the interviews don't need to be done in public.
No, they are public.
They are public.
Mhm.
Okay, even though they're in a room, we're gonna stream it.
So it's like an open meeting, anybody can come and watch.
Oh, they can just say, okay,
Yeah,
perfect,
yeah.
okay, thanks.
And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Carla, but I think you and Ben are saying the same thing about the qualitative piece and adding up their numbers, because it would be the ones with the lowest numbers, so it'd be golf.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that
Are you
makes sense.
saying like the sport or like a large body? of
Sorry, I
water?
just mean the lowest 4 scores.
Yeah,
Oh,
like
okay,
the sport.
okay. Got it.
I got it.
Got it.
I got it. I was like the lowest score, like golf. Yep.
Gulf of Mexico. Yeah, I got it.
Now
I
that
think
would
we're saying the
suck
same thing.
if, yeah, that would suck if someone were at like 5 points and another, well, I guess that wouldn't really, that'd be a really good score. But like, let's say someone's at 7 points and then the other person gets cut off at 8 points. Okay. You know, is there really that much of a difference between those 2 candidates? I should have read about this. I should read about it more, but yeah, the like, what's the difference between 2nd and 3rd place? And is that really a value of 1 that separates the 2?
I think we can announce that, but so like if we add it up that way, I could announce and say we have 2 candidates with 5, like I could announce the numbers and then you guys could determine that, like you said, if there's somebody close, you could say, well, we want to do 4 finalists because
Yeah.
this was an 8 and a 9. Do you know what I mean? Like that could
Yeah.
be
We could
determined.
also set the maximum number of points that gets you advanced.
Yeah.
Like a floor.
And because one of the issues is, you know, obviously you guys know this, but there might be a difference between how you rank, like you know, how you remember person 1 is going to be different than how you remember person 10. You know,
Yeah.
it's just the way it is. So, we just
Yeah.
have to be aware of that when we're ranking, because, you know, that's going
That
to
could
be
be another, that could be another reason to do a 2nd round too.
Yeah, right.
Is that, yeah. Yeah.
Ben, do you have any other things you want us to consider?
Those were my only thoughts for now.
Okay. Andy, you're up.
So I want to make sure, first of all, they understand the thing about the question. So we do 2 rounds and 1 question for each of us in each round. The problem with that is, and going into the other concern that I have is, that means that 4 questions are asked of 10 people. So, you know, it's 40 questions. It's a lot of questions, but not a lot of questions to each individual, you know, that's there. And so I'm a little concerned about how much information, you know, we're getting from each person. So putting a pin in that for a second, because I'm not sure how to do that along with dealing with time constraints. Unless frankly, we just have a different special meeting to select, since we're not gonna have the person seated, you know, on the 17th. But you know, the other part of it is, and kind of goes to what Ben's talking about, is I looked at that same article I think you were looking at about ranked voting. And ranked voting seems to be, you take first round, if there's, you know, no majority, then the first candidate on the bottom is, you know, taken out, and then whoever voted for that person, the next, you know, or the lowest vote is struck in. So then, you know, you do in successive rounds. I think it's gonna be really confusing with 10 people to try to rank all of that. And I think there's lots of different math combinations, and you know, frankly, you could end up in a situation where someone could have a really high score, which, I mean, for me, a high score is going to be, you know, a low ranking, right? But you could have a bunch of people with a high score and a low ranking, and you could end up in a situation where, you know, some low ranking candidate, you know, might be, you know, the choice based on, you know, on the ranking. And that I think is a concern, whether or not we do it in the ranked choice or we do it in, you know, this kind of, you know, kind of numbering that, you know, Carl was talking about, which I think we're used to. I think that the only way to deal with that is, you know, that we need to have, a cutoff of how many candidates, and my thought is there's 4 of us. And so, from round 1, we ought to narrow it down to 6 people. I would narrow it down to 4 people, and round 2, narrow it down to 3 and so forth, unless we get a clear winner. I don't think that the bottom half ought to be considered in successive voting. Either that, or I think that we're stuck doing, just regular voting ballots for every round. So that's my concern.
Can I clarify what you're saying, Andy? Because I'm
Yeah.
a little bit confused. Are you suggesting more than 2 rounds?
Well, you don't know what ends up happening, right? I mean, I guess, why would you have 2 rounds? And that's the other part of this. Why would you have 2 rounds if all we're doing is adding up total, preference, right? You don't need that because I mean, I guess you do, but why would you stop at 2 rounds instead of 3 rounds? I'm a little concerned that you're going to not capture the board's opinion. And so either you do it in multiple rounds to see, who the highest person is, or you just do 1 round, but you only rank the top, 4 or 5 vote getters. So that like we listen to all 10 people, we ask whatever the questions are, and then we rank the sheets. And so I do 1, 2, 3, 4, Ben does 1, 2, 3, 4, Carla does 1, 2, 3, 4, and Danielle does 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we see who has the highest score overall. But at least in that case, if we do it that way, we're guaranteeing that whoever we pick is in the top. Well, we're not guaranteeing it, but I think there's greater likelihood that whoever we pick is in the top, of the pack for the majority.
Okay, so
Well,
sorry, I just want to clarify.
Mhm.
Your suggestion is not to rank 1 through 10. Your suggestion is to rank 1 through 4.
Yeah.
Okay, Carla, what's your?
Yeah, so Andy, I mean, you can't select a candidate until you get a majority vote anyway, right? So I think what you're saying is in round 1, we don't rank all 10. We only rank our top 4. And we add up those scores. Well, we don't have to
Yeah,
rank.
we would-
We're
What
just
if every-
choosing our. Well, see, what you're suggesting, Andy, what makes that weird is if we each pick a different top 4. We're
That was
not
my
gonna
worry.
take 4. Yeah, you
Yes.
gotta rank all 10, because otherwise you might end up with all 10 round 2, if the top 4 for each of us
It's
goes in,
different.
right? Number 1. Number 2, what I hear you saying for the second and onward rounds is, tell me if I'm reading you right. You got 4 candidates left after what round 1, however we do that. Then we do another ranked vote and we kick out the bottom. Then we have 3 left. We do another ranked vote. We kick out the bottom and then we have 2 left. And that's the final vote if we haven't achieved a majority. Is that what?
Yeah, we
is
keep
that what you're
taking off the
proposing?
bottom candidate every time. And the problem is with 4
Yeah.
people and 10 candidates, you can't really do that
Yeah.
because you're doing the same thing multiple times. So you might as well just cut out the bottom 6 from the get-go.
Yeah, but I
And
think
then,
I think you can get out the bottom 6 with ranked choice of all
Mhm.
10
We
candidates.
could just bring back 4. Mhm.
okay.
So we could still get to what you're saying, Andy.
So what we would do is we'd rank 1 to 10. If there's a majority, there's a majority, which would mean 3 people have to find 1 person who's ranked 1. But then what does round 2 look like? Round 2, who's being taken off that list? Whoever it is that had the lowest vote. And if there's a tie, all the people had the lowest votes, and then we do it again. Or, I mean, I guess it'd be whoever we ranked in that list, so it would go up. I mean, I'm
Yeah, I
worried.
guess
Yeah.
that's how you would have to do it. You got 4 candidates left. I mean, the alternative is just to vote and see if we can get a majority, right?
Yeah.
And then if we don't, to vote again.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a prisoner's dilemma, right? We're
Yeah.
all trying to see who we can vote for to see if we have a majority.
So are you suggesting second round, not doing rank voting, just voting for your candidate? Is that-
No,
or-
Not me, not me.
Oh,
no, I
okay.
know.
You did-
I think
if
you have to
you-
be consistent. You
If
have
your
to do one
second round
approach.
was 4, you had 4 people that moved to the second round. So you did your 10 and then we added them up and took the 4 lowest scores or whatever, they moved to round 2, then in round 2, would you each just do like your top 2?
You would end up with the same problem if our top twos differ from each other. That's why you're supposed to rank all the candidates.
Yeah,
you
in each
you'd have to rank
round.
them again. You'd have to rank them again, yeah, in the second round.
Ben, do you want to?
But it wouldn't take that long
Right.
to rank the 4, drop
Yep.
the bottom, rank the 3,
Yeah,
drop the bottom if you still don't have a majority, you just go.
and I could see discussion at that point, because if you're doing that and you realize that there's not one of those 4 that you all agree upon. Do you know what I mean? Like that could move us to like having to, you guys have to make some different decisions. You know what I mean? If you want to continue the process.
Doesn't our policy speak to if we have a deadlock, like if we cannot get to a majority, then we're supposed to,
Like
does
you
our
have another 60
go back?
days or something. Yeah, so we'd have to pull that one.
so if we are in a deadlock situation, we could call it after 3 hours and say
Mhm.
we need to go back to the drawing board or something.
Yeah,
We'll look at the policy. Ben, is your hand up?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
So with Andy's point, so if we just rank the top 4, we have, I mean, you rank the top, if we commit to taking the top 4, there's 210 different combinations of people we could have. But the drawback is committing to 4. So I guess if we're going to rank them 1 through 10, and like I was saying before, it's, I don't know what these scores will end up being. Maybe it's the difference between 10 and 11. What if you group the first, you make your first group and it's 5 people, like what if you have, and again, I would have to write this out, but you could have 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Let's say people got those scores. It's probably impossible. I don't know. But then all of a sudden you jump to 20. Wouldn't that be a reasonable group then to bring back for the second round? And that's 5 people then?
it would, I think.
So if we do what Andy's saying, which is fine, then we are saying, well, no, we're taking the top 4, and that's the rule. And then
You
we
guys
just
have
follow
to
the rules.
decide. Yep, you guys have to decide that there's always gonna be a cutoff, right? If you do.
Now,
top 4. Yeah,
so the benefit of doing ranked voting through 10 is that we could do that where we make these groups of people and we would say, okay, well, actually, we're going to take the top 5 back because those scores were all in this chunk. The drawback is well, what's the difference between 7 and 8?
right.
But I have a question. So a math question then, if you do 1 through 10, won't you have a greater potential for like a larger differentiation between groups? Like if we're doing 1 through 4, what is that? 4, 8, 12, 16, like, right? Like you could have what you're saying, like those larger, so it'd be easier to see where the divide is. And if Allison's idea of telling us the point values, but not the names of the candidates, so we could in that moment, like come to a consensus on top 4 or 5 or what,
3,
whatever.
if it's like crazy gap, you could say 3. Yeah,
Right.
The ranking through 10 would give you more flexibility with group size for round 2.
I like that idea. What are everyone's thoughts about this point? Can we try to get to agreement on this point?
my concern too is if you do 4, what if you all have 4 different people?
What if we do this? What if we rank 1 to 4 or 1 to 5 even, and then anything below a 5 is a 6?
What does that do?
I guess that would make 7 through or 6 through 10 the same weight, meaning that someone who gets a 10 by someone else isn't screwed.
But then that's gonna make a whole bunch of people be like 4s,
there.
right? Or you know what I
No,
mean, at the same
If
score.
we did total, he's saying if we did total points, so like if you got ranked first, well, you get 1 point, right? But if you get ranked 8, you get 6 points. If you get ranked 9, you get 6 points. If you get ranked 10, you get 6. So, let's say, I was like, this person's a 1, and then Danielle's like, this person's a 10. They suck, which,
I would never.
yeah.
Go ahead.
But I'm just saying, like, then that person, well, wow, that 10 is a big deal, because that could kick them out. Which maybe that is a thing that they should get kicked out, because even though I really like them, Danielle, it's,
Okay.
My
you know what I'm saying?
concern though is, doesn't that make a whole bunch of people potentially have really similar scores? Because
could.
after you get to a certain point, they're all, do you know what I mean? They're not as
Yeah.
differentiated.
Yeah, so if you could, there might be a lot of 24s.
Right,
Yeah.
that's my worry.
Yeah. But then
Alright.
maybe 24s we just wouldn't bring it,
Carla, do you have a strong feeling about the ranking for?
I know
I,
she's got,
I think, sorry, I'm driving now, so
you knew
you
you
can't
were.
speak. But, if it's ranked choice, we should do ranked choice, 1 through 10 is what I think. And then, to me, you choose how many candidates you're gonna bring in unless there's a tie, right? So if we say we're gonna bring 4, then it's the top 4 scores. And so if 3 people have the 4th top score, you'd have to, bring 6. You know what I mean?
Yeah, if there were ties, yep.
But what if
If there-
there's,
What if there's what?
oh, what if, you have the scores, 6, 7, 10, 11, and then 12, and then it drops off to 18.
Well, or I would say, what if you have 6, 6, 7? It's like 1, 2, 2, 6, 6, or so, like I don't, or like 7. Then you're dropping that 7th off, but they're really not that different than the 2 6s.
I
think,
understand the point, but I think
Yeah.
the problem is that if we're making a sort of real-time qualitative decision, I think I don't know. I think we should have a number set. Of course, there's going to be a certain arbitrary quality to that. Any voting that's close is going to have an arbitrary quality to it, right? If you win by 50.1% in any election, do you know what I mean? But I think we have to just set the standard. How many people, or a minimum score, whatever it is. I don't think we should be asking Allison to make qualitative decisions on, oh, this seems like a legitimate cutoff. Oh, I just think it puts her in an awkward position, and us in an awkward position to do that. I think we should just decide now.
I
what if we said,
agree. I agree. I think it should just be 10 and then 4. And like you said, if there's 3 people that have the same 4th score, then you're gonna bring back more, but otherwise.
what if we said we bring back at least 4? So we would have to bring back 4 then.
Unless there's a tie.
There is a difference greater than, unless there's a difference less than 2, meaning there's a difference of 1.
I would rather just say unless it's a tie. Because there has to be a cutoff somewhere, right? I didn't go to school until my birthday was September 8th. The cutoff was September 1st. That sucked. But they couldn't just say, well, she's within a week, so she can go to kindergarten. Like, I think there just has to be a cutoff.
I hesitate to, because again, especially if you're ranking through 10, what's the difference between a point?
I hear you, Ben. So is the compromise that we say the top 5, because when you start to do more than that, it's
Right. Yeah. Because we don't want to get up to 6 or 7. Yeah. No, I
right.
mean,
And so if I would suggest the cutoff just be 5.
So what if 2 people or 3 people have the same 5th score?
Then you have like 8. I don't know.
what's the likelihood? The thing is, I should have done the probability of this.
This is like a math meeting now, and it's hurting my
I'm
head.
guessing now. I'm guessing right now. So
Does anybody,
I don't know,
and I
like-
know Andy threw out 4, but does anybody have a concern if it was 3, which would then give us a little bit of space if there were ties, or does 3 feel like too little?
Well, we could say 3 unless, the difference is less than, in this case, 3 then. So that would be a difference of 1 or 2, meaning that if like if the third person got 9 and then the 4th person got 11 and then the person after them's 15, well, we bring that 11 in then.
But then that goes
Well,
back
what
to
if-
Carla's
What
point
if
that we're
there's a
deciding.
13? What if there's a 13 that's just 2 behind the 11?
Well, but that's still 4 behind the 9.
And a 15.
Well, but that's, again, we're saying from the 3rd.
Oh,
What if there's a 3 9s and a 10 and 11 and a 12, and then we're bringing back 6 people?
Well, then we're gonna need
Well,
some coffee.
But I mean, I
Yeah.
think that's why there's gotta be a cutoff. I think there's gotta be a cutoff.
well, then I would say 4. Because
just-
rank can feel, it's hard, especially when you can't have discussion and just, it's hard to
Yeah,
process. It can be, so I feel like then 4.
yeah.
And if there is a tie, we just deal with that and that's our fate.
I can live with that.
Do we have some consensus around that part?
4
Move on to
plus,
the second- Yeah, plus a tie for 4th.
yeah, I think that's a good solution. I think it's reasonable and rational and doable.
And everybody knows what to expect.
Mhm.
So there's okay. So Andy had concerns about ranking. We talked about the auto winner. I kind of heard consensus. We do not want an auto winner
'Cause you
if
want-
they have majority, because you want to get a better
Oh,
context.
sorry, that was another question I had. We're not going to be asking every candidate the same questions then, because, and is that allowed?
No, we will be.
No, well, not everyone makes sound around 2, so it's okay, like, we're defining that as like,
Right, so we'll say,
Yeah.
here's our round 1 questions, here's our
yeah,
round 2.
okay, then, okay. So that is with, okay, sorry, I'm not an HR person, so that's okay to.
Yeah,
Yeah, because they aren't back.
That
So,
makes
yep.
sense. No, that
Yep.
makes sense.
And
Okay.
then I was gonna say to Andy's point, that would help with Andy's point about how much information do we have about each person? So that would, if you stick with 2 rounds, then each person that gets the second round, you've had a letter of interest. They've given a statement of why they want to be on the board, and they've answered 2 questions from each of you.
And perhaps we could impart upon them, like, this is your time to tell us something that's not in your letter of interest,
Yes,
like,
make it
because
clear.
you have limited time, so tell us something else, that we aren't privy to. I would just make that.
Yeah,
point.
so that they don't
Okay,
repeat.
then-
what you read.
It sounds like the other thing we have to discuss is whether we will have discussion after round 2.
I think so.
Open, so in front of the candidates, we'll be talking about them. Is that
Well, everything's live.
okay? So
Well, that's an interesting question. If we're deliberating on who to select, I mean, the selection needs to be public ultimately, whether we do ballots or not. But, can we go into executive session to discuss questions that we're talking about people?
no, I don't think so, because I think we asked that when we asked about discussion initially. And the idea is you can have discussion, but that discussion is open, it's public record.
Okay.
It's why most boards don't have discussion, because then they don't have to deal with.
Okay,
So it
But-
would be the round 2 questions, then discussion, then the final ranking, if you guys wanted to have discussion. Right?
Could we make a, yeah,
Well, I mean, we can, all I'm saying is let's make it available, but we don't have to discuss. We can move on.
My view is that if we're going to have discussion opportunity, that it should be after the second round of voting.
I agree.
Because then if we're still discussing it, it means after the second round of voting, about 4 or 5 people, we still have not achieved a majority.
right.
Then hypothetically, there might be a benefit to discussion. Even if, I think it's really awkward. I don't know that I would choose to participate in a discussion, but it would be wise to,
Have it
maybe
there.
wise to keep the possibility there.
Hey, so real quick, so this is an open meeting. So, I mean, the other candidates can sit in the room while the other people are interviewing.
No, that we can actually have them out of the room while they're interviewing, but they can be in there when you're voting.
So they could watch it on Zoom though? Is that what you're saying? Because are we zooming
Well,
this in person?
I wasn't planning to zoom this part, but that's open for discussion too.
they shouldn't be able to see what someone else is saying before they've, spoken. So,
That's
you know,
just
what you
normal
could
interview
do is
process.
you
Mhm.
could have them sit in the regular meeting after they've already been interviewed.
Well, that's not totally true, because like in a debate, right?
Yeah.
People hear each other's responses.
I don't
But
get it.
this isn't a
It's a
debate.
or Interview.
Well, but I'm just saying, like, publicly elected officials will sometimes debate, right? And they get to hear each other's answers.
Carla participated in a forum where people asked her questions in front of other candidates. So did I.
So I guess I'd hesitate to
Ben
like,
did not.
no, I did not. Yeah, Andy and I did not debate.
So easy to say,
The
Ben.
difference here is that this is a voting beast of a different nature, right? This is board members making what amounts to a temporary selection for 1 year, right? It's not a public vote. So
True.
I don't know. I mean, they could
Also-
just all sit there listening to each other. It's like a cattle call then, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Allison, your suggestion was in line with our lawyer, like what our
Mhm.
lawyer said that would be okay to not have them there, then we don't, and then
Okay.
anyone really wants to tweak Allison's suggestion, but I don't.
I was just making sure that we're following the open
Mhm.
Yeah.
interview rules.
Yeah, so
Because they
basically.
are
open-
all, because even though they're interviewing, they're all,
Yeah, I hear
people
what
of
you're saying.
Glendale, so.
But we aren't restricting them from being able to have access to it, and this isn't a situation where it's a forum like visitor participation. So what would happen is that someone listening or being in there or speaking and having access to what person one answered and seeing a reaction to the board gives that person number two, let's say, an unfair advantage to answer the question differently.
Mm. Yeah, no, I understand the points, yeah.
Yeah.
Carl, I
No,
just
no.
let you in again.
oh, okay. I'm leaving my phone. I hope.
So, okay, I think we have consensus that we will have 2 rounds for sure. We will not do an auto winner from the first round if there's a majority. We will do golf ranking and we will rank all 10. And we will move the top 4 on to the second round. And anyone who ties for 4th, right? And then what else do we need? Is there anything else from your?
There was
Timing.
the opportunity for discussion after round 2.
Well, could that not just be a motion that we make at the time, like a motion to discuss after we vote, if we don't, or a motion to, I don't know, I don't know. I'm just wondering how that works.
Motion to move on to the next item. So if no one wants to say anything, we can just move on to the next
Yeah.
item.
Yeah,
Item
So
2.
I have the interview as all one item, but I'll just make sure that it says it does say discussion action because you're voting. So yeah, you would be able to make a motion. Mhm.
okay. Okay,
And then we have to so the second round, we're going to do rank choice again, and that's final.
yep,
Okay.
So
Uh,
rank choice for round 2, if there's still not a majority, drop the bottom. Or the bottoms, if there's a
Yeah.
tie at the bottom.
I need to step away for 1 minute. I'm so sorry, but is there an interim vice president in case?
I nominate Carla.
I second. I'll be just one. I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah, so that's the last thing we have to decide, right? Sorry, my dog is acting weird under here. How we're gonna handle the last rounds of voting if we don't have a majority after round 2 is the last decision.
So
I mean,
so
the
for
only
round
thing
2,
we
you
have
want it to be a
time.
a straight majority versus they have points based on how you rank them.
Wait, yeah, it's points that we were, unless we're doing
Because otherwise you would end
You
up with
could-
something with the lowest points again, that would be.
the way, the way other boards do it, right? When they have that is that they vote for who they want to be in the position, and then there just would be no majority. That would be something, or we do the ranked choice, in which case there will be a winner unless there's a tie.
Well, we have to choose someone by a majority. Rank choice just, right? I mean,
So it have to be-
policy says it has to be a majority. So 3
basically-
people have to vote for one candidate in order for us to select someone. Ranked choice is just helping us get there as we eliminate
So
candidates.
then,
So would it
then
be
we could-
2 parts? Would it be, okay, so you did your ranked choice, I do the points and I say, so the candidate with the least points is X, and then you guys vote on that person?
well, what if we do this?
You know what
If
I'm
we
saying?
starting in round 2, we do a vote for who we want. And if there's a winner, they win. If not, we go back to ranked choice, and that's how we eliminate people. And we keep on following that process.
That's an interesting idea. Andy, what do you think of that?
I could do it.
So
So,
somebody makes a recommendation.
so that would be, you just take a cold vote. If there's not a majority, then you do ranked choice, eliminate the bottom numbers or largest number or numbers.
Yeah.
Do another plain vote. If you don't have a majority, do ranked choice, eliminate until you get down to 2 if you still have to.
Right.
And then we either achieve a majority or we have a vacancy.
For the 2. Yeah.
And so that first, it would just
Yeah.
be somebody saying, I recommend so-and-so, and then
Yeah.
you guys vote. So they're gonna be in the room,
So
so you know.
So Danielle, you missed the, Ben had a really simple idea.
Great.
Yeah, and a good one, I think. I think we all kind of like the sound of this. So
Okay.
round 2, with the top candidates who pass, you start with a cold vote. Just vote for your candidate. If we have a majority, we're done. If we don't, we do ranked choice. Then we drop the bottom number or numbers, the person or persons at the very bottom. Then we have another cold vote. If we don't achieve a majority, we do another ranked choice, drop the bottom until we have 2 left, if we have to keep going.
I like
And then
that.
there's the final vote.
Okay.
So can I ask a clarifying question? So after the second round, you guys are just each writing down your first choice?
No, we're gonna say it.
Okay,
Yeah. We,
I would rather write it down.
Oh,
that's what
And
I'm thinking, if you just write down and then you see if there's a
oh,
majority.
yeah, we could, yeah,
I'm
okay,
just saying people's names.
Yeah,
I'm just
it's-
thinking about people in the room.
yeah, sure.
Watching.
Yeah, and you don't want that to influence your decision, because if you know any of these
True.
people.
True.
So I think that's great. So we'll continue, we'll write, everything will be written
Okay.
until, yeah, I think everything should be written.
So
Okay.
we'll need a second type of ballot then, right, Allison? We'll need the ranked choice ballot and then also the,
Just it says number one, number
Oh.
one, number one, number one. Yeah,
And then in the event of a deadlock, that would be where you might motion to have some discussion, or you might, like if we're 2-2, that, or we end in a deadlock and then we have to consult our policy to see what's next.
that's true. If we're 2-2, we could have a further discussion
Mhm.
and take a final vote.
Yeah.
If anyone moves.
Does
I'm
anybody
glad
have
you come to
any,
your packets yet? I have to make adjustments.
just add a blank piece of paper, we can rip it up. Okay, does anybody need to clarify anything? Have any more questions? We have,
yeah, I'm sorry. How long is the intro that each person gets and how long are the questions?
2 minutes.
2 minutes for everything? Each thing 2 minutes?
That's my recommendation, unless you guys have different thoughts.
So, 2 minutes times 40 questions is 80 minutes. But then there's probably going to be, at least, some problems with kind of like, putting people in and out.
Yeah,
Um,
yep. I added
yeah.
buffer time. Mhm.
yeah, it's a 2-hour, 45-minute process total with buffers built in and a 15-minute break. And that gets us starting our board meeting, which will be light,
Very
at
light.
7 p.m.
And worst case scenario, Andy, if we are like for some reason this is taking forever, and
Mhm.
you guys could decide, okay, after round 1, we're gonna pause and schedule round 2 at a different time. Like you guys could make that adjustment if for some reason it blew up.
Sure.
But you guys we're gonna rock it.
Did we close the deadline for letter of interest? Or
Yeah,
they can
yesterday at 4 p.m.
Okay, all right. So that's
And I got one at 3:53 and I just went, oh my gosh.
So is this person part of the board then for the meeting that night or no?
No.
No.
Because they have to be sworn in.
Take your oath.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's interesting.
I mean, I guess if they wanted to get sworn in instantly, or they might want to acclimate a little bit. We've got a whole great onboarding process.
It's amazing.
Well, I mean, to that end, we could just adjourn the rest of the board meeting to another day. Just so that we could save some time and energy. But
I know you guys have to pick officers and meeting dates, and there's some things that, but we're making it real short, Andy, real short.
Well, I appreciate
Oh, we
that.
might, well,
I
meeting.
can't say for the whole meeting.
I know.
Yeah.
So could I, okay, we're off topic now. So, we have a motion to approve the recommended process, put it that Allison has suggested with the consent, with the tweaks. What? Why'd you do that?
Can we do 4 o'clock? Sorry, that's another question.
Oh, that's another question. That's right. Start time. So Allison would like us to start at 4. Is that possible for everyone? Does anybody have strong feelings or thoughts?
I don't have strong feelings, but I have transportation issues with my son. I could do 4 if I can find him a ride home from track, figure it out. So I can make 4 work. There's a possibility I'll be a little bit late. I'm not sure, but I think I can make it work.
I'll send out an email to all families for a ride. I'm just kidding.
I mean, to Andy's point, is that impossible to, I mean, if we started at 4:30 and then did the interviews and then delayed the meeting until the following week, is that like not allowed or?
You mean delay the board meeting?
Yeah,
I mean, you could motion to like convene the meeting at a different time, I guess, but like, are there things in this meeting that, I mean, we need to select officers and stuff.
And
Yeah.
dates.
and dates, right?
So it's not something we should, I don't
And
think we should,
depositories.
yeah, so.
And
And
I
I
don't know if
think
there's
we have
timelines
the
on that.
entire facilities team coming for 20-minute thing, just 20 minutes, but it's on all their.
If anything, you'd motion to have the appointment process. Or to postpone the appointment process if you really, but Andy has a hard stop at 7 or 6.
I'm committing to the process and, we'll see what happens, but, I may or may not be around for officer elections and other things going forward.
President
it's just,
Franklin.
it's unfortunate, but
You're
no,
not there.
no, Assistant Clerk Franklin. Assistant Clerk
Assist-
Franklin is more than fine.
Okay, 4 p.m. Ben, can you do it?
I could probably make it work, yeah.
And
I'll
Andy,
bring
can
you a birthday gift.
Andy, can you do
Yeah.
4?
Yeah.
So my only question that I posed to Allison was like, is this going to be, are we going to make it difficult for the candidates to come? Are we creating any like equity issues in terms of like access for working candidates possibly, or I don't know, caregiving it's what, all the different scenarios. Allison's point was we're going to give them a week notice. It's an interview, so it carries some significant weight, right? And they should hopefully be able to make it work. So I didn't know if everybody.
My
you have
other
to
thought
go
too,
in
like you said,
order.
yeah, the other thought, like you said too, Danielle, so like right now I just said alphabetical order, just to have a really like, but if somebody were to say like, I work until, like, we can just put them later.
That's what, if we could do that, I would feel comfortable because I just don't want anybody to
Yeah.
not make it because of that.
Yeah.
Now, if everybody can't make it, then we have a problem, but
Exactly. Then he'll be texting you
talk
guys.
about it. So, okay, then I'm okay. Great. So you can add the 4 o'clock start time and we have consensus around any modifications to the process Allison suggested. So we had a motion and a second. We've had discussion. Is there any more discussion?
Does the questions we're gonna ask have to be part of this discussion, or is that a separate thing?
I think the questions are separate. We just agreed on the fact that everybody gets 2. Allison would like us to submit them to her by Friday. Are questions public before the event?
It doesn't seem like that would make sense.
It doesn't, but
They
that's
could
why
see
I'm
them.
okay. Okay.
And
that's-
I know you proposed the lightning strike model for avoiding duplication, but I wonder if there's a better way to prevent duplicative questions. Like, do we share our questions with each other? There's going to be some overlap and it would be silly to ask the same question or same range of question more than once.
So what I did is I added, so the question doc, I added a link at the top. I could like,
for our final.
so that you could avoid duplication. Let me see if I can pull it really quick.
So we'll each put our round 1 and round Okay,
So you'll
nice.
see each other. So if somebody's bringing a fruit salad, you don't want to sign up for a fruit salad.
Okay,
Hmm,
That's what it makes me think of. So yeah, so you'll be able to see each other's questions,
okay.
as you put them in there.
so the goal would be to have your questions in there by Friday, and then everybody should check back probably to make sure your question isn't redundant or duplicative of someone else's in a way. And if you want to tweak it based on what we see, could we like, I mean, we could do that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Great. I think, should we do a roll call vote to affirm the recommended process as discussed here? Benwin,
Aye.
Andrew Franklin,
Hi,
Carla Pennington Cross,
Aye.
Danielle Bailey votes aye. Motion to approve is passed. I'm like, just head up, sorry. Okay, and then we have a motion to adjourn from anyone?
Oh, yes, motion to adjourn.
Second.
Any discussion? I have discussion. Friendly reminder, look at the meeting dates that Allison has put in the agenda ahead of our meeting next week. Start looking at them now, and so that, especially Andy, you might not be there for that, so that we can solidify that. That's all.
Okay, then I have discussion. I just
Okay.
want to say how much I appreciate this crew. This was not an easy decision to make. I just love the way this went. Very positive.
Ditto.
Thanks.
Cool. Okay. All in favor of adjournment?
hi.
Aye. All right. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank
Night.
you.
Yeah.
Bye.